Hi, I'm Diamond.
And I'm Malcolm.
And we're just a couple of true crime and paranormal fanatics here to share some stories. Like many of you, we've spent quarantine,
and most of our lives prior,
watching documentaries of serial killers and keeping up with all the paranormal investigators.
Our podcast, Killers, Cryptids, and Hauntings, dives into the stories that grip us the most.
Whether it's due to the backstory,
the legends surrounding,
or the sheer gore of it all,
we're here to deliver.
So lock your doors, grab a bottle of wine, and let's get creepy. I'm very excited. Tomorrow, I'm going to be going to Spirit Halloween.
Nice. Is this your first trip of the season?
It is my first trip of the season. I'm ready to blow my whole paycheck.
Yep. I've already started to get a bunch, especially because we moved. I didn't have a lot of Halloween stuff because we moved right in September. And this year moved again, but now... I'm actually starting to build up some of my Halloween collection.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not I get to decorate this year is one statement, but...
Yeah. I decorated where I worked last year, so I stole all of those decorations because they're not letting us decorate anymore. So I stole all of those decorations and using it on my place.
That's nice. That's good at least.
Yeah. It's not... it's lame. Because it was like...
Why are they not letting you decorate this year?
Corporate suits, you know how they are.
Oh my god, that's really lame.
Mm-hmm. And it's not like it was Christmas decorations. It's Halloween.
Yeah.
And I put out little lollipops for everyone. I had little tins for lollipops, so when people came in, they could have a lollipop. And they were always just filled. And I got the special flavors too. I didn't get the OGs. I got special flavors. I got the limited editions.
Oh god, that's
obviously we couldn't do lollipops now because of
COVID and everything, but
still,
it would have been really cute.
I had little pails. It was a little orange pail with a black jack-o'-lantern face pattern. It was so cute. I can't wait to incorporate it in my apartment.
I think it would be really cute. I'm excited to see what you do to decorate this.
But a lot of it, I don't know, because Kevin is a little rascal. Kevin is my cat. And he's a little rascal.
I know how that goes.
So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the web, We'll see, though.
Yeah. We need to see what we're going to be able to do with Cadaver. Cadaver is my cat.
Kevin and Cadaver, match made in heaven.
Otherwise known as Stinky Mamas.
Stinky Mamas.
But Stinky Mamas, and you have to say it like that.
Stinky Mamas.
We're trying to get her to be better about, not jumping up on, the countertops and things like that. And she's pretty good with stuff like decorations. It's
anything dangling I feel like she would bat at.
Mm-hmm. But it depends on, what style of dangling. If it's, a string dangling, absolutely. That's why I'm, nervous about cobwebs doing, the spider webs.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how she'll react to them.
And you do the spider webs so well. I feel like every time I do the spider webs, it looks like I literally, stretched cotton. That's what it looks like. But when Malcolm does spider webs, they look like spider webs. It looks like you just walked into... Oh, my gosh. Oh, wait, this is a perfect reference, and I forgot the bitch's name. You remember...
Aragon?
Nope. No. It's a book that we read in, high school or middle school.
Charlotte's Web?
No. It was about... I forget the name of it. But it was about this kid who made friends with this really rich old lady, Mrs. Hathaway or Hatchingway or something like that. And she had this cake, this wedding cake. She was a bride left at the altar. And she never got over it. But she's 80 now. And she still wears her wedding dress. And every day. And she has her wedding cake still after 60 years sitting in the dining room table, all set and ready, and it's like covered in mold and spider webs, and the whole room is just covered in like spider webs. And it's, if you know what book I'm talking about, please let me know, because this is killing me. It's like the great something, the greatest something.
No, you act like I read any of the books that were assigned.
This was like freshman year when we still liked ourselves.
You act like I read any of the books in high school. I was in honors and didn't read any of the books.
Well, yeah, me too. But this one I read. I baked a cake for it. We had an end of the year project. You could either do an essay or a real project or bake a cake, and I was like, baking a cake.
Yep. My favorite was I had like a world societies or world studies project.
Yeah.
And we were doing like budgeting a trip to Europe kind of a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we made food based on whatever city we were visiting, we would get bonus points. So I didn't do like a whole part of the project because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel like doing the actual math for the budgeting, so I didn't. And I still got the second highest grade in the class.
Because
I got a 103 because I baked cookies.
And you know what? Here's the thing.
You helped me make those cookies
The
one
gingerbread
time.
cookies?
Yep.
Oh, I thought that was for
It was for something different, but that was the recipe.
Oh. Yeah, I remember that day. That day was super fun. I came over. I was in my cheetah print footy pajamas because I knew we were ready to get in it. And we were up at 3 a.m. pouring molasses. We were making gingerbread cookies. Up at 3 a.m. pouring molasses. We ran out of molasses. We had to go to Walmart.
Yeah.
At like 2 in the morning.
Yep.
In footy pajamas.
Yep.
And we saw some fun characters there, as you do at 2 a.m. at Walmart.
In Walmart.
And we were some fun characters ourselves, getting molasses and sugar cookies. And I think we got those mini cupcakes too.
We did. Oh my
to
god.
snack on. Maybe like Cheetos. And then we went back, finished the cookies, went to sleep at like 4 or 5 in the morning or something.
If not 6.
Yeah, and then we woke up the next day at like 11 a.m. and decided to go to Buffalo Wild Wings, but I didn't bring any extra clothes. I was gonna go footy and all, so I borrowed Malcolm's, because if footy pajamas is a little much for Buffalo Wild Wings, I don't know if they'd be able to handle it. So I looked great in those footy pajamas. So I borrowed Malcolm's pajama pants and a Breaking Bad t-shirt that he had. And slippers. I didn't have shoes either. Just slippers. And we walked into...
It was like winter, too.
It was the dead of winter. It was at the beginning of the winter flavors for Starbucks.
Yeah, so it was like... it was like October or November, so it was getting cold.
Yeah, it was getting cold. And we walked into B-Dubs, and
We were the only people there because it was noon.
It was 11 a.m. It wasn't even noon. And I took off the slippers, which weren't even shoes to begin with, and just sat there without shoes, eating my weight in boneless wings. Those are and you took pictures, and I looked fantastic.
Oh my god, I
Those
still
are my
have the
favorite
Snapchat
pictures.
story saved,
Yeah.
man. Oh god, it gives me... Oh god.
Such nostalgia.
Yeah, seriously.
One
It's
of my-
so fun to look back on your past.
Mm-hmm.
And to look back at, like, everything that you've done and all the stories that you've had and everything. You know, the past tells us a lot about ourselves and a lot about, other people and who we're going to become.
Yeah, definitely. And with that...
I think it's perfect to go to everybody's favorite segment. What was it called? What did we call
It's
it?
Ride or Die.
Ride or Die, right. To everybody. All right, hang on.
Ride or Die.
Alrighty.
So Malcolm is shuffling.
Runaway Tower. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
That's horrifying. Alright. So today, let us channel our past.
Oh, yes. Let us channel our past to see, our future. That wasn't planned.
That was not planned. I hate being your best friend.
Okay, alright, you know the deal. I'll fan him out. You tell me when to stop, boo-boo.
This one.
That one. Alright, now what do we have here? We got the Emperor.
The Emperor.
Are you ready? So, the keywords that we have for Emperor are stability, structure, protection, authority, control, practicality, focus, and discipline. For the meaning, it is all about control when it comes to the Emperor. For this card means authority, regulation, organization, and fatherliness. The Emperor represents a strategic thinker who sets out plans that he must see through. He is a symbol of the masculine principle, the paternal figure in life that gives structure, creates rules and systems, and imparts knowledge. Where the Empress's desire for their kingdom is to create happiness, the Emperor desires to foster honor and discipline. He guides with a firm hand, following the calling of the crown above all else. Though he is a ruler, he understands that to reign is also to serve. Thus he acts rationally and according to what is for the greater good of the kingdom. To see him in a reading presents a chance to grow in terms of the goals that you have set to yourself. It presents a successful future as long as you pursue your goals similar to the fashion that the Emperor does, methodically and strategically. When you see him in a reading, a possible interpretation is that you could be put in charge of something important. It could be a position at work or in any kind of organization or institution that desperately needs order and a clear, decisive mind. You may be called to act in the place of the Emperor, using his wisdom to bring clarity to the project. I like that. And you know why I like that so much? Weren't we just kind of getting our lives together today about all of this? We have like the next 6 episodes planned.
Yeah, especially, so we've had a lot of troubleshooting and workarounds and
setbacks. We've had a few setbacks, a few decent setbacks, and just figuring out what the hell we're doing here.
And it's been hard to keep motivation, and then today we finally were able to have a talk with that, spark and joy that we had when we were first talking about everything, planning out our next couple of episodes, planning out some special events that we want to do, what we want to do on Halloween.
Yeah, we have some really, really cool stuff planned for you guys. So we're both extremely excited.
Yes.
But yeah, no, so I think this is a really fitting card, and I really like it. I'm kind of excited, not just this card, but just in general, the planning that we've made, the strategic planning that we have concocted. Nope. No, I said it right?
Concocted.
That's the right way to say that. Concoct?
Conceived? Conceptualized?
The strategic planning that we have conceptualized today really just it's like rejuvenating the motivation here.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that's going to happen all the time. We're going to face periods where we're kind of like, but we just got to... I always say the best way to get out of a fog is to make a list. That's my favorite thing.
And as you said, the Emperor a lot of times represents a strategic thinker who is methodically planning things through to see them to the end. And I think that level of detail or level of attention really kind of shows, what kind of a person someone is.
Yeah.
And a lot about a person can be seen or dictated from their past. When you analyze someone's past, you get a true look into their soul and into who they are. The events that happen while growing up becomes what shapes our future. It shapes our perception of the world and how we interact within it. And I think that's one of the reasons as to why when we hear about the brutal past and the brutal upbringing of a serial killer, a lot of times we kind of think, oh, No wonder they became a serial killer.
Yeah.
No wonder they committed such evil acts.
Almost my favorite part about learning about a serial killer is learning what fucked them up in their childhood.
Yeah, what was their turning point? When was it apparent that they were different?
Yeah. Whether it was, like, starting off by killing a couple animals. I love things that, like, delve into that, too. I feel like a lot of movies could do more to do that.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, that's one of the things that I love about tonight's story that I have for us. Tonight's story is a little bit different. I have the story of an evil, vile woman who committed heinous acts against others. Oh. She is known as the Granny Ripper.
Oh!
The Babushka Yaga.
Babushka Yaga.
Or the Nightmare on Dimitrov Street.
Nightmare on Dimitrov Street?
Correct. So now the abnormal thing about the Granny Ripper is there weren't many warning signs before she kind of turned on society.
So she just came out of nowhere.
Basically, yeah. Now, the details of her case are somewhat inconsistent, as this case does take place in Russia.
Okay.
There are some things lost in translation, and I will say I am not Russian. I do not know how to speak Russian.
Can confirm.
There, if anything is mispronounced, I am truly sorry. However, I'm going to power through it with the confidence of a white male. The Granny Ripper did receive some international attention, and this was due largely in part to the cruel and unusual treatment of her victims, as well as her elderly age.
So, all right, the age.
So she was
piquing my interest.
She was 68 years old at time of arrest.
At time of arrest? So that's not like the end of the story either.
Correct, nor is it the beginning. Mm-hmm. Now, the Babushka Yaga had very normal and very humble childhood beginnings. There is not a lot of dictation on her childhood or growing up. However, what is known is Tamara Mitrofanovna Samsonova. She graduated high school and would go on to college in Moscow at the Moscow State Linguistics University. From there, she would graduate, move to St. Petersburg, and in St. Petersburg, she would soon meet her husband, settle down, and begin to work. She worked as a travel agent for about 16 years at the Grand Hotel Europe before she retired.
Oh, geez, I could not ever... Nope.
I could never imagine being at a job that long. And actually, funny enough, most of her coworkers weren't there that long.
Huh.
Most of her coworkers only worked there for about 3 to 4 years.
Oh, that's kind of... that's a little sad.
Right. But overall, pretty normal.
Yeah, pretty normal. And she sounds like she did pretty well for herself, too.
There was no serious signs or warning or clue. And you know, here's where things start to get interesting.
Oh, that's my favorite part, when they get interesting.
You don't say. I think that's everybody's favorite part. That's kind of why we use those key buzzwords.
Buckle up, guys and gals. It's getting interesting.
Here's where things start to get interesting. In the year 2000, Tamara Samsonova's husband would disappear.
Oh.
Tamara would then approach the police several times in the years following about her husband's disappearance.
Pretty normal for your husband disappearing, though.
Exactly. She gave several statements, requested the help of different police forces, and it seemed that she never let go of her husband. However, life must go on.
Uh-huh.
And eventually she would go on to rent out space in her apartment to a roommate. In the year 2003, she would have a 44-year-old man move in with her, who she lived with for a brief amount of time before he too would disappear.
I am sensing a pattern here.
There is. Here's where it goes cold, though. From there, Miss Samsonova fell under the radar. She continued to live out her normal, modest life in St. Petersburg. That was until she needed renovations done on her home in 2015. A mutual friend would introduce Samsonova to 74-year-old Valentina Nikolaevna Olenova. Olenova would allow Samsonova to stay in her home while the renovations were being done, and it seemed like there weren't any issues between the two. Samsonova would help around the house, cleaning and cooking, and the two seemed to live in harmony.
That's good.
That was until, because there's always an until.
I love the until. Just as much as the interesting part.
That was until, of course, Samsonova refused to leave, despite the renovations being done.
Oh.
She'd grown particularly comfortable in the home with Olenova. The two, of course, began to argue and fight more often.
Well, yeah. Valentina's like, cool. Yeah, you were here for a while. Now you can go. You can leave. Get out of my house.
And the thing that did them in was a particularly bad fight about an unwashed cup in the sink.
That's always the one that gets them, isn't it?
And that's when the Granny Ripper would strike again. In July of 2015, Samsonova would seek out a pharmacist who would prescribe her a very powerful benzodiazepam called phenazepam, a drug developed by the Soviet Union in 1975 to help with neurological conditions, such as epilepsy, alcohol withdrawal syndrome, anxiety syndrome, and sleep disorders.
Now, how was she just able to go to a pharmacist and pick this up?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
This drug can be very dangerous in high dosages and is unregulated in many countries.
Fun.
Can you guess what happens next, Diamond?
I'm thinking that she takes them responsibly and then they make up, right?
Oh, exactly. So like any rational person, Samsonova, on the way home from the pharmacy,
yes,
out of the goodness of her heart, stops and picks up Olenova's favorite dish.
Oh.
And, like any sane, rational person trying to make amends with her roommate, she poisons it with the drugs and feeds it to her.
Oh, I think I saw that on Desperate Housewives once.
So, obviously, it doesn't take long for Olenova to fall victim to the drug's side effects, passing out on the kitchen floor for the Ripper to find her next victim.
Oh.
Now, this is where the story starts to get very, very dark very, very quickly. For those of you with a weak stomach, you might want to skip ahead and avoid this part. Baba Yaga, the Granny Ripper, begins. With 2 knives, she proceeds to decapitate the body.
Oh, wow. Just with a knife?
With 2 knives.
Through the vertebrae and everything?
Yep.
That's
with
tough.
2 knives, she severs her head, her arms, and her legs from her torso, shearing off the flesh and disposing of the parts into multiple plastic bags, which she would then scatter throughout the city. Her torso would then be wrapped in a shower curtain and her body taken to the nearby lake, where it would stay unnoticed for 3 days.
Wow.
Unnoticed, that is, until a local resident stumbled upon the body and alerted the authorities.
Okay, here's the thing, and I'm not condoning storing anybody's body anywhere because no one should be killing anybody.
You never do the lake.
But don't do the lake. You always get found out at the lake.
You always get found out at the lake. Take a page from Dexter. You have to go out into the middle of the ocean.
Or Breaking Bad and just dissolve it in acid.
Exactly. So now, of course, as the authorities begin to investigate, they start by questioning the neighbors and the residents. Finally, they knock on Olenova's door and are surprised to see Miss Tamara Samsonova. They enter the home to investigate and very quickly find blood and the torn-off shower curtain in the bathroom.
Girlfriend, it has been 3 days. You didn't think to clean up the blood?
She is immediately arrested.
I would hope.
As evidence is collected against her, police discovered CCTV footage of the elderly woman carrying multiple plastic bags down from her apartment, and it becomes indisputable that this 68-year-old widow had killed her roommate in cold blood.
Wow.
How you feeling, Diamond?
First of all, as a fan of true crime, I am appalled at her sloppiness.
Well, wonderful. It's about to get crazier.
Thank you. Go on.
Due to the overly violent nature of her crime, a mandatory psychological evaluation was done.
Good.
Something that was then exposed about the Baba Yaga is that she had actually been institutionalized in a mental hospital before. 3 times, as a matter of fact.
Oh, is that how she was able to get the medications?
Exactly. It was believed that she was schizophrenic.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
And the results of this evaluation deemed that Samsonova was a danger to herself and others.
Really?
Much to the surprise of everyone.
Yeah, I mean, dangerous to yourself and others. I think it would, I would just dismembered a body, It's fine.
She was sent to a specialized institution for the criminally insane.
Good.
During this time, as the investigation continued, the Russian Powerful Investigation Committee, basically their equivalent of the FBI, began to take control of the operation. They linked Miss Samsonova to a possible death toll of 14 victims.
What? Oh, my goodness.
Including her husband and her former tenant.
Ooh.
Now, the reason the investigators believe her to be connected to these crimes are for 2 main reasons. One being the manner in which the bodies had been discovered throughout the city.
Did she drop it at the lake every time?
No, she would drop it in different parts of St. Petersburg.
Oh, well,
multiple body parts, multiple different bags, multiple different dumpsters throughout the city.
I have to give it to her. She was doing what she could, but she could have done it better.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if Russians are able to see Breaking Bad. I don't know if they have that capability. Or Dexter. I don't know what their TV is like over there. Russian Netflix. But she should have studied up a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
Seriously. Now, the second big thing that investigators would use against her would be a diary.
Tell me she didn't.
Tamara's diary.
Tell me she didn't.
In this little black book of death, the Baba Yaga detailed every single one of her victims' ends, and they were listed in between entries of mundane daily tasks.
Oh my gosh. You might as well have, sent the bodies to the police station.
I killed my tenant, one entry reads. Cut him into pieces in the bathroom with a knife. Put the pieces of his body in plastic bags and threw them away in different parts of the city. Followed directly by, had coffee this morning. Slept poorly.
Slept poorly? Well,
Who would have known why?
I wonder what she was up tossing and turning about.
No idea. Now, as more and more about her story came out, media coverage erupted with headlines of the Granny Ripper, including one CNN headline of cannibalism suspected in Granny Ripper case.
Oh, wait, hold up. This is becoming amazing. Tell me about this.
This supposed cannibalism was never 100% proven.
Okay.
However, there are a few things supporting this claim.
Yeah.
The investigation committee had found that in several of her supposed victims, internal organs were missing.
Do you think maybe she was selling the organs? Maybe got something for it?
I doubt it. I mean, that's implying such connections that this woman had to have had, and I don't think she was very social.
Yeah. Yeah, probably not.
Now, my favorite part is when questioned if she was a cannibal, the Granny Ripper responded very simply. It is not excluded.
It is not excluded? What kind of cryptic bullshit? What?
Right?
It is not excluded.
She did this constantly. Tamara loved to tease the police and the reporters.
Oh?
Even blowing a kiss to a reporter's camera on the day of her trial.
Oh my gosh. She's giving me such Charles Manson vibes.
So we might never know exactly how many victims this granny had or exactly what she did to those bodies. She is one confirmed, without a shadow of a doubt, confirmed victim, that of her roommate. However, her victim toll ranges anywhere from 11 to 14, depending on what sources you look at.
My gosh. Do you know how long she's incarcerated for?
I have no idea. I couldn't find much about her sentencing. All I could find was that she was put into a specialized institution for the criminally insane.
Yeah, because I was thinking if she's there for life, if we hold out long enough, she might
crack and tell us.
I mean, yeah. I would feel like if I were a serial killer, which I am not, if I were a serial killer and in the same fashion as Granny Ripper, say, and I got caught, and I know I got caught, I'm not, like, trying to fight it, because obviously I did it.
I would showboat
all of it. I would lead him on a little bit, but then I'll let him have it.
Well, and then who's to say that she isn't? It's hard to, when you have someone incarcerated, when you have a suspect who is known to be mentally unwell with something like schizophrenia or something like bipolar disorder, depending on how severe their mental illness is, it can dictate how viable of a witness they are.
Yeah.
And especially something like schizophrenia, where it can alter your perception of reality.
Yeah, definitely.
It's hard to gauge someone who has a mental illness like schizophrenia. It's hard to gauge how viable of a witness they can be.
Yeah, definitely. And, I mean, when you're hearing all these voices tell you to do different things and influencing your view on reality, that'll drive, anyone nuts.
Yeah.
But if you are in the Maple Hill Park in Huntsville, Alabama, and you hear some voices, you might not be as crazy as you think.
Oh, do go on.
What I have for us today is a haunted playground. Making its home in Huntsville, Alabama, is Alabama's largest and oldest cemetery. It was founded in 1822, spanning over 100 acres, and now home to over 80,000 dead.
Wow.
Yeah. Among the buried are 5 Alabama state governors, 5 Civil War Union officers, 200 unknown Confederate soldiers, parents of 1940s actress Tallulah Bankhead, the founder of Huntsville, Leroy Pope, as well as artist Maria Howard Whedon.
So this is their most prominent, most notable cemetery in the whole state, then?
Yes, definitely. Now, in 1985, a playground was built right beside the cemetery. Like, they aren't technically the same property. However, if you were sitting on the swings, you could arch your back over the little hill and see a headstone.
Oh, wow.
Like, it is close.
That's kind of odd for, like, a children's playground.
Well, the reason they built it was to keep the bored kids off of the headstones.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, because I thought the same thing. I was like, why in the world would you do this? The official name of this park is Maple Hill Park or Drost Park. It changes depending on where you look. And then in 2007, city officials took down that park to make way for more burials. However, public outcry forced officials to put the park back up and with updated equipment. It's a very well-liked park.
Oh, okay.
Now, the geography of the playground, it comes into play. It's kind of important here. It used to be a stone quarry, and it is bordered partially by sky-covering trees, just very tall, almost canopy-like trees, but we're in Alabama and they're not indigenous.
Yeah.
And then also partially bordered by a natural wall or a cliff, as people refer to it as. And it is accessed by a trail leading down a rocky hill.
Okay.
So I said in the beginning, this is a haunted playground. And the question comes into mind, why is it haunted? You know, that's the most important part, in my opinion, of haunted places, is what in the world happened here to get spirits to be roaming around.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of theories, some more believable than not, and then some more believed than not believed.
Okay.
I would like to point out that those two statements are not one and the same.
I'm following you.
Okay. So the first one, most believable one, is that in the early 1900s, mill owners and factory owners often employed children, like before the labor laws were put in place. And in fact, 1 out of 4 workers in the mills were children.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of the accidents involved children wherein they got hurt or even died. In addition to that, in 1918, the Spanish flu killed 400 people in Madison County, many being children. It wasn't crazy documented, but just a lot of them were children. That's pretty believable, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of dead kids in the area. They could be, like, wandering from the cemetery down to the playground and just playing around.
Yeah, which would make a lot of sense.
It would make a lot of sense. But that's not what's, like, commonly believed.
Mm-hmm.
What's commonly believed is much more fun.
Fun sinister or fun juvenile?
Very fun sinister. So there's two things. The first legend that I'm going to tell you is like 30% accepted.
Okay.
And it's that children were abducted and killed in a satanic ritual on the ground where the park now stands.
That's a lot to process.
Now, down in the South, there's like if you look into Georgia or Alabama, they have lots of rumors going around of satanic rituals. For whatever reason, it's like popularish in that area to think that that's something that's going on.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on, so this is what our universal conclusion to jump to it.
So it's very plausible that people would think that, of course,
Yeah.
but there's no evidence, none evidence backing this up whatsoever. This next legend, and my last legend here, is the most commonly believed. If you ask anybody who lives in Madison County or Huntsville, Alabama, what happened to that park, they will say this. That in 1960, several children went missing, and after no one turned up, rumors started going around of a serial killing by a man who stalked this quarry from on top of the natural wall. Because there is a walking trail up there, so it's very...
It would make a lot of sense.
Especially in the 60s.
You know, and
when
to
people...
see what kids come every day,
Mm-hmm.
to see what kids come every day, what kids come with parents when parents are and aren't there, like, sounds like the perfect spot
Definitely.
to make camp and look out.
And this is before the park was built, because the park was built in 1985. We're talking 1960. So these are just kids going down, running around, playing in the quarry.
Yeah.
So, which is 1960, that's what all kids were doing. And this was only rumor until someone found, supposedly, a small skull in the quarry. That was then followed up by the discovery of several skeletons, as well as a few newer and small corpses. The corpses that were found demonstrated signs of malnourishment, evidence of partially healed wounds, sign of prolonged detainment, and brutal deaths.
Wow. So someone was seriously stalking and hunting down kids to then torment them.
And there was no murderer found or convicted. It is said that a group of fathers of the dead children hunted the man responsible down and burned him alive in a boiler room.
Wow.
The reason that this is a legend is because I looked for newspaper articles.
That sounds almost like Freddy Krueger's story.
Right. I looked for newspaper articles, even reporting missing children, serial killing, anything. Any kids going missing, police records, nothing. There is zero proof to back this up anywhere.
Wow.
It is so heavily believed in that area of Alabama that I can't just throw it away as as having not happened. I think that's a pretty cool theory, and because I'm so interested in the macabre, it is the theory that I like to think of as being real myself. So, what do you think? Where are you kind of sitting with these theories and legends?
I mean, I will say that the last one is the one that makes the most sense. Especially with, a man stalking the top of the quarry where the trail and everything is.
Yeah.
stalking these kids, learning their regular routes and everything. Because usually when you have a place like that in your town, that's the place that your friend group always goes every day.
Yes.
So it would be so easy to track down the behaviors of a couple of kids and have them slowly go missing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the fact that nothing's ever been recorded or reported is the thing that gives me more of a red flag of, like, did this really happen? But, like you said, it doesn't necessarily mean that it didn't happen. It is also possible that the bodies that were discovered there were from a different town, that was someone's disposal site.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And it could also be the reason that I don't want to throw this away really is because it is so concretely believed by the people in Huntsville, Alabama. Like, this is, when you ask them, that's exactly the story that they'll tell you. And I'm thinking it could be definitely that it's bodies from a different town. I definitely believe the story, but it also could be some kind of Mandela effect going on too.
We could open that can of worms with every argument though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It is super weird that there's no evidence though.
Yeah.
So, now comes the really fun part about ghost stories, is what are these ghosts doing? So, like a lot of haunted places, the most activity happens between the hours of 10 p.m. and 3 a.m.
Yep.
That's the high.
That's pretty average.
Yeah. People have experienced swings swaying by themselves with no wind, orbs floating around. People have seen actual specters of children playing. Disembodied voices laughing, singing, playing, and sometimes even calling out to visitors specifically. And we're going to put a pin in that for a second. Dust being kicked up as if kids were running or jumping. Lights seen illuminating the park. And by the way, this park closes very early in the day, so there are no lights in this. And it's deep in a quarry. It's pitch black. So to see lights illuminating is impossible. And then, of course, the feeling of nausea and uneasiness while you are in the park during hours of heightened activity.
Yeah.
So I want to jump back a little bit to the disembodied voices. The laughing, singing, playing, that's not worrying me at all. What kind of sparked a red flag for me, and I know we talked about it last episode, how demons will portray themselves as children in ghost form, is the calling out to visitors.
Especially specific visitors.
Yeah, because
that's a lot of power for an entity to have.
Yeah. There are children that do end up haunting grounds. That's not impossible. We're not saying that doesn't happen. But the telltale sign of the difference between a genuine ghost child and a demon ghost child is a genuine ghost child will not interact with you so much, like such on a personal level. If a child specter is calling out to you to come play, like, come over here, come play with me, that is a fucking trap by demons. So that was a huge red flag to me. That kind of gives some credibility to the satanic ritual.
Possibly, yeah. If they summon something or we're trying to appease something.
We can see that there's a lot of really cool activity happening at this park. There's a story on Reddit posted by user Graystar421, and in it they describe having taken photos of tons of orbs, the swings swaying in sync by themselves on a dry day with no wind. And on top of all of that, the worst, according to them, was how sick everyone felt while they were in the park. I'm talking, like, not just like, oh, my tummy kind of hurts. Like, they were excessively dry heaving.
Wow.
In fact, a direct quote says, "The minute we stepped foot in the parking lot, we were fine."
Wow. That sounds like something doesn't want people there.
Right. Another user, Tiamis, with 2 T's, says, "After we stepped over the gate, it was like a switch flipped. I started freezing. during an Alabama summer night. All the hairs on my arms stood up and felt tingly. I instantly wanted to leave, but no one else noticed anything. The feelings got worse the closer we got to the playground. It took several uncomfortable minutes begging my friends for us to leave. I never went back, even during the day.
Wow.
Yeah, this kid was shook.
Yeah, well, some people are more in tune with that kind of stuff. Some people are way more sensitive to those kind of things.
Yeah, definitely. So honestly, it is a really, really cool story, and I love it so much, but there's not a whole lot of evidence about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questionable evidence saying I felt a certain way, or, I saw something, but I wasn't able to capture it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of that physical, like, pictures taken or...
And there might be a few pretty decent reasons to that. The park does now, after 2007, once they rebuilt the park, they started closing at loss of daylight. And when I mean closing, I mean the cops are there every 5 minutes to make sure no one's in the park.
Like, they're patrolling.
They're patrolling that park. A huge symptom of this haunting that was talked about was the swing swaying. There was little to no physical evidence of the swing swaying. And this might be because in 2007, when they rebuilt the park, they also changed the layout of it. So the swings are on the opposite side of the park.
Oh, okay.
So that could play a role in it as well. Now, the Alabama Paranormal Society, or APS, does say that there was no evidence of children being buried on the grounds of the park. However, they do support the claims of spirits haunting the grounds. They just speculate that they're wandering spirits from the cemetery.
More so than...
More so than
like
something...
demonic entities possessing the playground.
Yeah. It's a really cool story. And I have to ask, because there's a lot of up in the air about this. I gotta ask you. Ghoul or fool?
Oh, I might have to go with fool on this one.
Really?
Yeah, it really doesn't seem like there's much to the story, almost. It seems like the most probable thing is wandering specters at most. Especially if there's you weren't able to find evidence of disappearing children. There were no records or encounters of a killer in the area of missing children. The Paranormal Society saw that there weren't children buried where the playground was. They were just buried on the grounds, and it is possible that a wandering spirit or two could sway a swing. But for people to have nausea to a level of dry heaving constantly, for people to be having those such intense visceral reactions upon stepping foot in this place, there would be something about the background. You can see so much about things based on their history and background.
Yeah.
And the history just falls flat for this one.
I hear you. And I gotta tell you, when I was researching this, the most surprising part to me was the dry heaving and the feeling of uneasiness, because everything else was just more so... I actually didn't find that until towards the end of my research. A lot of the evidence was mostly things moving on their own, dust flying up, just regular kind of what you would expect from a child ghost.
Well, and also think of it this way. You said it's dark there. It's not... There's no natural light in the area or anything. It's very possible that an animal ran by.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Something kicked up the dust, and by the time that you looked over, it was an animal. It's no longer there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of question. And of course, it does make sense that, whenever your town has a place like this with legends surrounding it and, stories around it, it's very, very easy for when you're going there the first time as initiation as teenagers or something.
Yes, yeah.
Of course you're going to have that uneasy feeling because your brain is already thinking of worst case scenarios, because this is a place with history, with a known history of being creepy and weird and paranormal. Your brain is going to fabricate and your brain is going to seek out that paranormal when you go.
Definitely. And not to mention, I don't know a whole lot about psychology, but my parents used to throw a Halloween party every year. And we would also have this haunted hayride. We lived on an old horse farm, so we had lots of trees. And the hayride was through the trees. But they never put anything up for the hayride. We just waited until it was dark and then drove through the trees without the lights on.
It was always creepy. I loved that.
It was always the scariest shit in the world, because what happens is when you're in a place of being scared, if you're open to being frightened, your brain will come up with ways to frighten you. I saw fucking faces in those trees, man. So I would not put it past anyone to go to this pitch black park and psych themselves out and start seeing things.
Absolutely. And it makes sense. Mm-hmm. And not to say that, you know, there isn't some validity to the story. However, I
think the part that makes it the most believable is how I've seen tons of interviews with people from Alabama talking about this. Everyone has the same exact version of the story.
Yeah, but that is not uncommon in a small town, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To have a small town, to have a legend that's been going on for decades, probably. Mm-hmm. You know, it does make sense that everyone would know the story the same way. They probably talk about it in their schools. I know I learned about some New Jersey urban legends and everything in school. I learned about the Jersey Devil. It would make sense. It's
you
something
went to
close
a really
home.
Cool school. I just learned about Christopher Columbus.
But it does make sense that, you know, it's our local history. It makes sense to be talked about even in school.
Yeah, definitely. Whatever it is a really cool story.
Absolutely.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And honestly, I kind of like to believe that it's haunted. Because, think about it. Think about if when you die, you are just a ghost here, doomed to roam this land for eternity. You got nothing to do. You're in a cemetery. You don't want to go too far from where you were buried. You just want to hang out there. But you got nothing to do. Then you look over, there's a fucking playground.
Oh, I'm going on the swings.
I'm going on those swings. Who's to say that that these guys are even kids? Everyone's just saying it's kids because it's a playground.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bet you it's some full-ass adults playing on those swings.
Sliding down the slide.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Do you remember the last time you slid down a slide?
I don't.
I don't either.
Oh, that's sad.
Oh.
It does make sense, though, you know, because even adult spirits, like you said, could absolutely go and enjoy a playground.
Definitely. And there's none of this evidence dictates any kind of size or features to the spirits either. Just spirits. Yeah, that's all we know.
But it does say a lot about a town's history and everything.
Yeah.
And for everyone to have the same urban legend, the same tale.
I think that's the coolest part.
I think that's the coolest part too. And it goes into how deep rooted something can be. I'm sure that's something that's been told down for decades.
Decades. I mean, this story.
The cemetery was there.
Since the park was up, probably.
Yeah. If not before, I'm sure that there were legends that quarry was haunted before anyone even built a park there.
Oh, yeah. Especially if kids are going down there to play and hang out, and it's right next to a cemetery. Why wouldn't it be haunted?
Exactly.
Oh, man.
So
you are spitting facts right now, Malcolm.
I know.
Spitting facts. Factuals.
It does make a lot of sense, though.
Yeah. Man, the story was so cool.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than ghost kids and cannibalistic grannies.
Yeah, seriously.
And you know what? I think it's pretty safe to say that all of them were having a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. We went from the old to the new.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone had a chance. Everyone had a lot of fun.
So if you guys want to take anything away from today, it's definitely to clean your freaking bathrooms.
And to go and find a slide and slide down a slide.
We know it's been way too long for you.
Awesome. Well, as always, we thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please feel free to send us any of your ghost stories. Have you ever seen a ghost child? Have you ever gone to a haunted playground? We would love to hear more at kchpodcast.submissions@gmail.com. Also, feel free to check out our Instagram at Killers Cryptids Hauntings, as well as our Twitter at KCH Podcast for more live updates.
And tune in every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for new episodes.